What's going on, Breaking Brown fam? I cannot with y'all. Somebody said, I can't take all that whistling. I love y'all, but sometimes I cannot. But it was funny. I'm just teasing. I'm just playing. We're going to get right down to business in just 1 second, fam. Please, please, please make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit the like button, please. Cost you no money. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/WaCarnell. You can do that. You can subscribe to the newsletter in the description. You can do that if you want to do. If you are so inclined, please hit that bell for me. The book club is coming. We're coming with a new book. You know, we've been fighting these last week and a half, and you know, I think we got some folks out of here, but it had to happen, and so I haven't introduced a new book yet. If you have a vote in terms of what you think the new book club book should be, please hit me up at editor@breakingbrown.com. And I will have a look-see. Please share the video as well so that, you know, so that we can actually share our ideas and, you know, what we feel and our advocacy and what's supposed to happen and what's the best for ADOS. So let's do all of that, family. Let's do all of that if possible. And it is possible. So I'm not going to, you know, I stopped watching football a few years ago. Let me just start right there. Let's just start right there at the beginning. I stopped watching football a few years ago. And so when we open the phones up, I want everybody who watch football and who has a take on this. No, Yvette, you're wrong, you're right. Or, you got a point, but this and that. Fine. We're going to open up the phones and deal with all that. But I want to give you my take on this Colin Kaepernick situation, and you got to talk about it because, you know, it does and has, and the kneeling and all of that for social justice and what Kaepernick did, that is kind of how he got to this day to kind of go out. And so for those of you who don't know, let's just give a little backstory. Kaepernick, he was supposed to have a workout day. NFL people, you know, he hasn't played in like 3 years. He's been kind of just basically blackballed, and he's saying collusion and all of this stuff. And they said, well, you're going to have a workout day. You're going to have a day to work out in front of people. It's not going to be on the, but it's going to be on a day when all of the good, really good people to work out with are like occupied, and the contract's going to be real different, and it's going to have some stuff in it that is normally not in the kind of waivers that you normally sign. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on, but you come on down and you're going to do it. And Kaepernick, right before it was time, said, no, I'm not going to do it. And we're going to show some articles and some quotes about why we think Kaepernick got into that. But there's something else that we have to get into in terms of not just what Kaepernick did and why he did it. We're going to have to get in and talk about Stephen A. Smith again. It seems like there's like an outrage machine, but we got to talk about this guy all the time. Let me tell you something. At a certain point, our community, now I know he's not ADOS, but at a certain point, our community has to learn when to get rid of people. Doesn't mean you can't have a contrarian opinion. But it means that when you have these many controversies when you talk about what you have to do in terms of race, it becomes a problem. But I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But I want to get to something else first. I want to get to what Eric Reed, because Eric Reed was the first to kind of comment about, well, you know, his relationship to Kaepernick and, you know, football. So if you've been following this, you know who Reed is and what Reed said about Jay-Z. He had a lot to say, but let's just bring this up a little bit bigger so everybody can see. Tap dancing for the NFL, like, damn straight Colin wants to control the narrative. He's supposed to trust the organization that blackballed him and has done him absolutely nothing in good faith. Born on a Tuesday, just not last Tuesday. This is Eric Reed, friend of Caps. He's playing on the same team, I do believe. And he says, Malcolm X said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. You embody this quote. You, Malcolm Jenkins and Jay-Z pranced around doing the NFL's bidding to try to bury Colin. I stand for truth, justice above all else. You are mistaken by thinking that because you or anybody is black, that you are spared from criticism, especially when you've been so blatantly on the NFL side and corrupting their own process to hinder Colin's employment. Woo! He said a mouthful. But then, you know, Stephen A. Smith, he's a lot of things, but he's not going to get out-talked. He'll talk all day long. I think he talks in his sleep. So he came back and he had some things to say, and we'll just put that up before we get into it because I want everybody to have the context. This is Stephen A. Smith, ladies and gentlemen. The more you talk, the more ridiculous you sound. E. Reed, 35, he's talking, you know who he's talking to. Actually, it's worse than I thought, since you're the one tweeting at me hours before a damn game. And speaking of the game, weren't you in Atlanta in attendance for Kaepernick's workout yesterday? Before having to leave early to play for a team in a league you're feeling so oppressed by? Wasn't that you? Just asking. Hold on, I have more. Now, before I go on with the hold on, I have more, let me just say, the other day I mentioned agents of chaos. And we know who that was referring to. And that person has a lot in common. I want to lay out some of the context of what an agent of chaos does, right? And that's what I think Stephen A. Smith is doing. And that's the role of a lot of these black people who are social engineering. They are agents of chaos in terms of how they're put there. So chaos is very different in two different perspectives, right? So you can have intergroup chaos and you can have outer group chaos. Outer group chaos is sometimes good for you because if everybody else scrambling and you together, you can get some stuff done while they scrambling around as long as you ain't scramble. People who engage in intergroup chaos though, or a problem. And see, let me show you how Stephen A. Smith does that right here. He says at the bottom, he said, you're the one leaving early to play for the league, right? That you're so oppressed by, right? That's kind of like saying you're the one still working as a teacher, even though you're suing the teachers union, right? Even though you want what Colin and any of these NFL players are saying, who are wanting justice and want more power in the league, they're not saying I want to be out of the league. They're saying that Colin, first of all, was treated unfairly and blackballed because of his social justice stance, and we want to empower ourselves within this league. So you cannot shame somebody, and it makes no sense for you to shame somebody for being in the league because they're in the league because they're the best at that position for right now. Until somebody comes out of college and takes their place or whatever and is superior, they're the best. And they make a contribution, they get paid for that contribution. That has nothing to do in the sense of, okay, I'm fighting for us to have more rights here. I'm fighting for somebody else to get back in the league. How can you shame me for being in the league when I'm fighting for somebody to get back in the league who got blackballed? I'm fighting for fairness and for our rights and for him to get his rights back, to fight for social justice within this league. That little jab didn't make any sense. Oh, well, you played football and you got a problem with the people who, I mean, you get paid money to play football and you gonna act like you got a problem with football? People work jobs every day and fight to have more rights for their jobs. Fight for somebody who got fired or dismissed wrongly. Fight for somebody who is on workers' comp and isn't getting their money. We fight on jobs all the time. That doesn't mean we don't fight for additional stuff that we need or want or take care of our responsibilities on that job. But let me just say something. This is, when you look at Agents of Chaos, they do this a lot. What they do is throw something in the argument that really has nothing to do with the argument itself, which is about Colin Kaepernick and him working out. And what was the context of that workout? Was the NFL asking something of him with that waiver? Were they asking something in terms of collusion? Were they trying to do a trick? None of that has anything to do. None of that has anything to do with Reed being a football player as well. Watch these Agents of Chaos, because what they do is throw stuff in there that has nothing to do with nothing. And before you know it, yeah, you play football for the man too. Who are you to talk? Well, he's in there. He's actually playing for them. And he's actually standing up while playing on the team. What do you mean? Who is he not to talk is the question. Who is everybody else who is not talking? Especially with CTE and brain damage. Who is everybody else not to talk? But let me just, I want to just let, Stephen A. Smith finish. He had a lot to say in his, I think this is his Instagram. So let me just let him finish, child. If he was here, he wants you to let him finish. That same Malcolm X, who we all revere for life, you just brought up, acknowledged there were slight errors in his thinking. You didn't bring that up. You, Eric Reed, went through the same process Cap was supposed to go through, and you're still playing on Sunday. Pause. You don't know what he went through. You don't know whether they were the same, Smith. You didn't do enough investigation. You didn't do enough to find out whether this was the same. You just started talking. We got to watch people who want to talk before they read. You got to read first. You got to investigate first. You talk second. Okay, let me finish this. And unlike you walking around and doing nothing but bitching at every turn, myself and many others in the media have religiously called out the NFL for blackballing Cap. We've religiously highlighted the unfairness of it all. And some of us, let me just stop right there for 1 second, please. Please, 1 second. You got to watch these midstream people. What do you mean, Yvette? What do you mean, midstream people? Midstream people are the people who, let's say they support you. Well, I support him, and Cap got to do this, and Cap got to do that. And you support him, but you change midstream. Well, changing midstream is a support. If you're not going to stay with me all the way through, it's not really support. So what they'll do, they'll start and give a little bit of support just so they can throw back and say, I supported him at first, you see? I haven't always been here, you see. I've been somewhere else, you see. We had a lot of ourselves last week. I supported Yvette and Tone, you see. Yeah, so you could do something. There was an end game. You got to watch these midstream people who support, like Stephen A. Smith, just to come out later and be like, well, I tried. And now you just gone too far. You've gone too far. Let me put this back up here for a second. Hold on one second. Reed, held his position on not committing, on not kneeling, and didn't work for almost a year until the Carolina Panthers agreed to not have him promise about kneeling. So you're talking to somebody, when you talk about Reed, who has some compunction, he has some values that he stood by. We can't say that about you, Stephen A. Smith. You just want to work. And so let me just finish what Stephen A. Smith is saying. I be forgetting the child's name. We've religiously highlighted the unfairness of it all. And some of us have worked behind the scenes trying to help Jay-Z and others in their quest to get Cap back in the league. Meanwhile, what is Eric Reed doing? Complaining like he wants to be on First Take. You gotta watch the people who call you, who say you're just complaining and being a naysayer. You gotta, how many times have we heard that about me and Antonio? You gotta watch the people who say you just complaining. You just being a naysayer. What have you done? I'm gonna show you what he did. I'm gonna show you exactly what he did. People will always ask you, what have you done? And you got to be ready with a receipt. And people will always come with fake receipts, and you got to be ready for that too. So when people say, well, when he says that to him, well, what have you done? What have you done? Well, here's what he did. Panthers Eric Reed says he'll continue to kneel during the national anthem. He stood up for something. Now, I'm not telling you who to believe or who to listen to. I'm not telling you what side to take. I'm telling you that you got to be able, listen, as we go down this path, you got to be able to, the only thing that separates the wheat from the chaff is the people who are able to discern. You got to be able to do research for yourself. You can't just listen to Stephen A. Smith and say, he right, what he done did. No. You got to go and look and be like, hold on, this man did do something. This man did do something. He was with Cap on, what was the 49ers, whatever they was together, and then he wouldn't sign with the team that didn't allow him to continue to kneel. That's a sacrifice. It's easy to be the Stephen A. Smith kind of Negro and just go along to get along. Remember Booker T. Washington, regardless of how you feel about him, he was wrong. In terms of, he said, well, just cast your bucket down. Put your bucket down. And eventually, white people are going to get used to you and learn to like you. That's not what happened. And these men are fighting in this NFL. Reed and Cap are fighting for a kind of, and I understand, like, when the commercial came out, I was like, what is Kaepernick doing? He's doing a night commercial, he ain't going to talk no more. But you see him with this, and you see him try to switch it up. He's trying to switch it up. And Stephen A. Smith, what are you doing? You just seem like you want to get on TV. You want to be on my show? Yes, you seem like you just want to be on TV. You seem like that's all you want to do. You got to be able to be like, hold on. This man has made sacrifices. How many sacrifices Stephen A. Smith made? You got to be able to count it yourself. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work if we're in a situation where you don't remember and you have no contextual memory for all of this. You have to have contextual memory for everything. You got to be able to see Stephen A. Smith and a whole lot of other bodies and a whole lot of other people, because there's a whole lot of other agents of chaos out there. And let's just go back to your man again. Let's just finish off on this part. Yet I'm the one dancing. Why? Because I'm gainfully employed while trying to remind youngsters out, I guess he meant here, out here of the pitfalls that lie in wait. Another bait and switch, ladies and gentlemen. He has made this about young people. I'm chastising black men who are standing up for their rights and standing up to get Kaepernick reinstated after he stood for justice. I'm doing that for young people. How we do that at? That's supposed to help young people? To know how to bend their, and that's supposed to help young men so they know how to bend their back. Meanwhile, someone like you continues to throw professionalism, decorum, and decency into the wind. So it's indecent to do that. Now understand that Reed took a smaller deal. He gave up money. What money you gave up, Stephen? You just got some money. You just got the monies. You just got new money, Stephen A. Smith. But understand, Reed gave up money to stand for justice. You gotta watch these agents. You gotta watch these agents of chaos who throw all kind of stuff out there. And if you don't know enough, they'll convince you that they're right. Meanwhile, someone like you continues to throw professional decorum and decency out into the wind, sending folks down a dead-end path. All because your boy isn't getting his way. When no one gets their way. So who's the sellout? Who's the sellout? Nobody gets their way. Guess what? It's neither of us. We have a difference of opinion. I still respect the hell out of your immature, belligerent self. But I'm going to call it like I see it. Kaepernick made a mistake the way he handled all of this. If he really wants a job in the NFL, period, and your contribution to all of this doesn't help, it hurts. It ain't about you being wrong. It's about you needing to grow the hell up. Your decision, your life, your decision, your life, do you? Do you, Pikachu? The Pikachu part wasn't in there. But what you see, you have to pay consistent, contextual attention. If you don't do that, listen. Your attention is everything. If there's anything that I haven't said here, it's that attention is everything. If you weren't paying attention, you might say, yeah, this guy is just throwing a hissy fit. You won't know that he's the one who sacrificed. And the only thing that Stephen A. Smith is doing is blowing a lot of hot air. He hasn't sacrificed anything, and he wouldn't. The only thing that Stephen A. Smith is saying is that you have to do what they say. And if you do what they say, and if then eventually they'll hook you up. But you just gotta, you can't be fighting for justice and running around and all this. You just gotta do what they say. Now he calls that belligerent. That's not belligerent. There's nothing belligerent about that. Doesn't make any sense. You have to understand that. He's saying that. Now understand, Stephen A. Smith hasn't said anything about anything. We have been last week and this week talking and fighting about the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And we've had our own fight with agents of chaos who want to do all this other stuff. But you have to understand, if the only way you fight agents of chaos is to know more than them. And then you can see the game and you say, oh, I see what game they're playing. They're going to insert a whole bunch of stuff that they don't even know whether it's true or false. They're going to throw it in the conversation, just pile it on, and then hope you forget what you was even talking about. I don't even know what I was saying. I guess Yvette is wrong. I don't know. I heard she live in a tree. I don't know, with leaves and a hovel. I don't know, a shoe, something like that. So you have to pay attention to what is at stake, what matters, what is relevant to the conversation. He's talking about what this man contributed. What has he contributed? How does all this fit in? That's important. But let's go on. For those who have not heard or seen, this was Stephen was he talks a lot. I got to give it to him. Now, what did we find out after the fact? We found out a few things about waivers and things of that nature. The standard tryout waiver is much more narrow than the waiver the NFL sent to Colin Kaepernick. Huh, that's interesting. Colin Kaepernick refused to bend to Roger Goodell's will. So what does that have? So let's read a little bit of this. Let's go off of Stephen A. Smith for a minute. And let's read what some other observers say. Just for a second. Roger Goodell and the NFL tried to bend Kaepernick to their will this week. They scheduled him for a tryout with only 3 days' notice. They insisted he come to Atlanta and work with a coach not of his choosing, at the Falcons headquarters. They told him that it would be on a Saturday when coaches and top scouts are busy either preparing for Sunday games or analyzing college contests. Sounds like a setup. Sounds like a setup. Already sounds like a setup. Bam, bam, and boom. I smell a rat. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about this waiver a little bit. But they did not tell him, Kaepernick, who the receivers he would work with would be. They wanted him to sign a non-standard injury waiver that would prevent Kaepernick from suing the league for collusion in the future. Most egregiously, they insisted that the workout not be open to the press. Let me tell you something. When you're in a place where you're saying you don't want transparency, that means you want to control the narrative. So let me just say how it goes. As a person who's been lied on a lot of times, this is how it works. If I'm going somewhere and I'm going to do something and the press can't be there, what that means is that you can tell whatever story you want to tell. You can come outside and say whatever you want to say. You can say, oh, Yvette delivered a terrible speech. Or I saw Yvette fall over of a pile of cocaine. You can say whatever you want to say. The press isn't there. So I get to make up the story. I get to make up whatever story I want to make up. That's another tool of agents of chaos. They get to make up a story. And it's up to you whether or not you believe the story, whether you ask for receipts. And the receipts got to be real receipts. One of the things I noticed also is that we've gotten to the point we don't know what a real receipt is. What? Somebody told you that? Okay, must be all right. What? Somebody said that? Okay. So he said, no, I want the press. Like, you can't, that's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way for me to just show up and the press can't be there. You can come out and be like, man, he couldn't throw. He's all off. His aim is off. Speed is off. It's all bad. Can't get it. I don't know what he been doing, but he ain't been working out. And who's gonna, what do I do with that? And am I supposed to trust you? You blackballed me for this. Am I supposed to say, yeah, okay? So let's go to another quote really quickly. This is Kaepernick. He showed up in Atlanta and refused to work out at the Falcons facility under the watchful eye of an NFL chosen coach. He instead went to a high school an hour away with his own receivers. He kept it open to the press, several of whom live streamed the workout over social media, preventing the NFL from spinning the event as if he no longer had the goods. Now here we go again. Let's put this up here. Let me make this big enough. Jay-Z, who is being paid handsomely to be Roger Goodell's racial justice whisperer, let it leak that he was disappointed with Colin's actions and believes he turned a legitimate workout into a publicity stunt. But it's the NFL that staged a publicity stunt. All Kaepernick did was refuse to play the game. Now let me just say something. When I did this video 2 years ago, telling everybody who Jay-Z is, who Jay-Z was, everybody had a problem. Just like everybody had a problem with Kaepernick's Kunta Kinte shirt, right? If everything had been set up right, we don't know if he would have wore that shirt. He might have wore, if everything had been above par, he might not have wore that shirt. But I want you to look at the downvote. That's a really high downvote for a video. It has 207,000 views. That's a really high downvote. It's 1.2K downvoted. I've been trying to tell everybody that his job is social control. His job is gatekeeper. Now everybody like, we don't know what's going on with Jay-Z. How? How long I gotta say it? How many times I gotta tell you? What do you mean you don't know what's going on? Listen, it was set up as a win-win for the NFL. Okay, so if Colin shows up and abides by our terms, here's what happens. If he shows up and does everything we tell him to do, we're going to have him hooked in with that contract. We got a collusion thing in there. I'm going to go into that in more depth in a second. We got a collusion line in there. He can't sue for injury in there. There's no press, so nobody knows how he really did in there. That's it. Now, let's say he does his own thing, which is what Colin did. Then we're going to get our agents of chaos in there. We're going to get Stephen A. Smith in there. And we're going to get Jay-Z in there. Those are our 2 agents of chaos. Now, what they going to do is tell us that we shouldn't believe our eyes. They going to tell us that, no, see, it was him. He don't want to work. No, I'm disappointed. So let me tell you, when you're at a place and you're trying to move in a direction as a group and you have these black people over here who don't care, watch them. Because the ones who don't care if we progress as a group, you need to watch them. I don't care what the situation is, because they're going to tell the rest of America and white America and black America too, oh, black America don't agree. Black America don't agree. It must be something to it. Maybe something is going on with Kaepernick. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, that's a chaos. That gets everybody confused. Oh, maybe, I don't know. I thought, at first, I was on Kaepernick's side. But then you got black people over here saying that maybe he's wrong. So maybe I have to rethink these things. These are Negro agents of chaos. We dealt with it all last week. That's what it is. It's the same thing here as there. You got to watch it. You got to pay close attention. Or not, it's going to be a problem. And I didn't just tell you about Jay-Z. When did I tell you? 3 years ago, I told you about Stephen A. Smith. But see, one of the problems that we have as a group is that we don't know when to, people talk a lot about cancel culture. I don't know what you're talking about, because I don't really think cancel culture exists. Because y'all don't ever really cancel nobody. They all come back. So I think we have to talk about cancel culture. And we got to start canceling more people. We don't exclude nobody. People can do stuff. We say, well, they say, well, Yvette, I know Stephen. I know Stephen A. Smith. He be wrong and he be talking bad about us and he get in our way and we know what he is. But sometimes he surely is funny. Let me ask you a question. What is that funny worth? Because I can go all around the internet and Instagram and I can find a lot of funny people. Finding funny people, especially funny people in my community, in the ADOS community or black community in general, is not hard. Finding entertaining people in my community is not hard. You have to decide, we have to decide as a group, what is the cutoff point for funny? Or for being entertaining? What is that? Is it costing justice in the NFL? Is it costing advocacy for the Civil Rights Act of 1866 because you threw some kind of little brattish, petulant fit right before it? Is that the cost? What is the cost? You got to set the standard. We can differ on the standard, but I don't care what you do. I don't care if you write it in your book tonight or whatever. Write it in a notebook, write it on a piece of paper, write it in the sand, but don't let it blow away. Decide what is the straw. Like, this is my last straw. Decide what that straw is. You can't just go on with, well, he funny. Sometimes he real funny. Sometimes everybody real funny, child. I don't know. I don't know. I think we really have to, and I've said this before, I think we have to get serious. And I think in some aspects we want to be entertained and be entertained more than get serious. See, here is Smith again. But life isn't fair. It damn sure ain't ideal. And at some point, you've got to grab. Oh, spell that thing right. You got to grab the opportunity. Caps occurred today, and what does he do? Alters the process and shows up with a T-shirt about slavery. God forbid he honored the ancestors. Smith. I know they may not be your ancestors, but God forbid in terms of American chattel slavery, but God forbid he show up under the ancestors. Understand who this man is that you're watching in terms of Stephen A. Smith. Just understand. You know? Just understand that. Like, understand what it means that he showed up in the shirt, too. That means that the interview had failed, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew it was a setup. Do you not know that, Smith? You didn't know that was a setup? That shirt shows you I know I'm being set up. You're trying to set me up to be a slave, and I'm going to just put it out here. How you don't know that, Smith? How you don't know what that shirt means and the import of that shirt? How you don't know stuff? What are y'all doing? What's going on? Who are the people? Who are the people who are being left to remain in our community? Who are these agents of chaos? Jay-Z sat there with Goodell and all of them, said, well, are we doing this so Kaepernick, or are we doing this for social justice? Because I got some sneakers and t-shirts to sell and some music if you want to be honest. And y'all let him stick around. I have said this before, and I want to say this because everybody said when last week, the Tariq Nasheed stuff, everybody said, oh, Yvette, why aren't we united? I have said before a long time ago, what we're doing is about inclusion as well as exclusion. It's about who gets in and who gets out. And you got to know when arguments don't make sense. I'm not going to get into it, but like when Tariq said, oh my God, if we have leaders, we could be black identity extremists. Tariq, you probably already are a black identity extremist. And you tell me you couldn't get into the UK. Why would you try to attach your albatross around my neck, sir? Like, you got to understand when people are making arguments that don't make sense. If you can't get in somewhere, if you've been banned, you probably already on the watch list. Fall back. So the argument about we have leaders, they gonna take them out. That argument didn't make any sense. We have leaders all throughout. ADOS got leaders all throughout this country now with these chapters. Just because you don't call them a leader don't make no difference. So I'm happy that you're doing the Hidden Colors Conference now as opposed to like ADOS, the ADOS Shadow Conference. That's fine. I'm fine that we got you out of this political space. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I like to autopsy stuff. It's good to autopsy things because you have to go back and see, okay, this is what it is. And when I look at Stephen A. Smith, I see that there's a lot of Stephen A. Smiths. Some don't act like him. Some don't have his politics. But when you see the actions are what count. That's what matter. Can you be collective right before this civil rights case goes to the Supreme Court? Can we show up as a collective at that moment and then fight again next week? Oh, then you want to fight right now. That's very suspect. That's very suspicious. Not going to get a judgment or a ruling probably for a long time unless they throw it back to a lower court. But the fact that you want to fight the day before, that's agent of chaos stuff. So I think we have to understand that. And we have to be very honest with ourselves about who people are. We can't think of Jay-Z or anybody else in our lives as somebody who I know and he wouldn't do this and he ain't like that and he not this person and he's a cool dude. You probably don't even know that man. And I mean both of them. Stephen A. Smith said, you're defining blackness. When did Reed or Kaepernick say they were defining blackness? Don't worry, I'll wait. It's kind of like the Kamala Harris argument. Nobody said that. When you see somebody kind of making up their own arguments, arguing against something argument that you didn't make, know that person is an agent of chaos. What are you doing? You're trying to tell me I'm not black. No, you're trying to tell you that you just kind of sold out. That's not the same thing as not being black. What are you talking about? How'd you make that up? Okay, I got it. Agent of chaos. See, what was really happening is that what was being defined by Kaepernick and Reed and what they were trying to say is that we're not defining blackness. We're defining how blackness reacts to an oppressive force. In this specific instance, in the NFL, we're trying to define that. How do we react to an oppressive force, right? What is the proper protest? What do we do? That's what we're doing. If you don't pay close attention, you'll be like, yeah, Kaepernick and Reed, they out here trying to define blackness. If you're not paying attention and you don't know how to make assessments, you'll go along with that. One of the rules is, listen, resist going along with like where they're taking you. Where the head goes, the body goes, right? That's everything. That's in fighting. That's in intellect. That's where the head goes, the body goes. Don't let your head go immediately where somebody's trying to take you. Resist at least for a moment to give yourself time to make your own assessment before you go along with it just because it's funny or whatever. Is this true? Is this relevant? What is the context? All of that has to come into play, because when we're smart and we sit back and we think about things, can't nobody mess with us. Nobody. You can't mess with us. If we know what we're doing and we on our square, you can't mess with us. I heard somebody say that yesterday too, the other day, like, we're going to stay on our square. Where'd you get that from? I tell you, boy, so many people, so many things, family, so many things. People have problems. Now, let me just say, before I end, because we're not going to go too long today, because I want to hear what the football people have to say. What the football people have to say, and all of that stuff. I really want to know what the football people, if you follow football, you've been following Kaepernick, I want to hear what y'all have to say. I just have a few things I want to say before I close this up. I'm trying not to go an hour tonight, because I know y'all got some stuff to say. Some of y'all was left on the line from last week. A lot of stuff been in the air. So I just want to give y'all the opportunity to kind of, you know, to add it out. So I wanted to just, before we stop having this conversation, and just to look at specifically what we were talking about before in terms of the NFL and what they were trying to do to Kaepernick. So this article from NBC, I'm sorry. NFL tried to put Colin Kaepernick in legal checkmate. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's see. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, please. It was about extinguishing the second lawsuit that Kaepernick could file for ongoing collusion plus retaliation against him for his first grievance that was settled for a payment reportedly between $1 million and $10 million. Hold on a second. That's the inescapable conclusion from the assertion as made by Kaepernick's lawyer and Kaepernick's agent that the NFL demanded that he sign a broad waiver, including a waiver of potential employment claims. Let that one sink in. The NFL, under the guise of acting out of the goodness of its own heart and or to assuage the guilt of 32 months of Kaepernick being wrongfully denied an opportunity, set up a workout for all teams, even though any team could work him out at any time, and then as he showed up for it, asked him to sign a waiver that not only protected the league and the Falcons against a torn ACL or some other injury that could have happened during the workout, but also exonerated the league of any and all responsibility for violations of his rights that may have occurred since his grievance was settled, I think, in February. As a source with knowledge of the situation tells PFT, when Kaepernick's camp suggested a standard injury waiver that didn't sweep broadly to absolve the NFL from its ongoing violation of his rights, league representatives said that the proposed release had been drafted by NFL General Counsel Jeff Pash, and that Pash wanted his release to be signed. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. So you got to watch. You see what they did? You see how slick they played that thing? You see how slick they played it? They were just trying to get him in there to take him out of there. Let's bring him in. We're going to bring Jay-Z in too and we're going to save face for Jay-Z and say, Jay-Z got capped. We're going to make him have to come and say, Jay-Z got capped this workout. He need to come on out here. We're going to try to give him a job. And then Stephen A. Smith said, yeah, come on out here. And I heard that if you come out here, you're going to have a job in 2 weeks. If Cap had listened to, he'd have been out there and they don't tell him what happened to him. They'd have dogged him out and said he's garbage. He's a garbage player. Screw him. And he could have tore something up. He didn't know who was going to be your receiver. Anything could have happened. Once he figured out it was a game, I just put my shirt on and go show you I can throw at the football field at the high school. Why not? Agents of chaos. Let me tell you what. Before we go, let me tell you what agents of chaos do. Agents of chaos sow confusion. You know how on YouTube right now we have some people who are saying, you know, we have the Tariq Nasheeds on one side. They're Democrats. They're Democratic shields. On the other side, you have the Jason Johnsons. I think that's him of the Root and Morgan or whatever he does. Child, don't nobody know. You have him saying these people get paid off by Republicans. They're right wingers. They're MAGA. Agents of chaos and confusion. Their job is to sow confusion so the people who don't know who ADOS is says, wait a minute, wait a goddamn minute. You telling me that they're Democrats and they're shields for Democrats. You telling me that they're shields for Republicans. I don't know what to believe. I'm going to throw my hands up in there. I'm through with it. The whole point of that is to get people so frustrated and confused that they say, you know what, we finished. I'm tired. I'm going to go to sleep. I don't know what this ADOS group is. I don't know who they are. Agents of chaos. That's what agents of chaos do. They sow confusion. They sow confusion. They also start whisper campaigns. I heard Tone get paid with potato wedges. I heard Yvette done overdraft eight different accounts and live in the hollow of a tree in the basement. Now none of this stuff can be confirmed or whatever, right? And none of this stuff can be seen as relevant. Even if you can confirm it, how is it relevant? None of this stuff can be seen. But now where'd you get all the information from? Well, I got it from somebody who hates both Tone and Yvette. Oh, it must be true. Yeah, they've hated Tone and Yvette for years. Oh, boys. Oh, it gotta be true. Everything. You gotta watch people who start these whisper campaigns. Right? Because what you will find most often is it's a character assassination. It's poverty shaming as opposed to a real argument to buttress their argument. Right? So it's not relevant to the issue. Whether or not you or me or Antonio lives in the cardboard box down the street, that does not have anything to do with whether or not what we're saying. And if you go down that rabbit hole trying to defend yourself, that ain't true, I ain't that, then you failed. You have to just assess what the relevancy is of what's being said and why it's being said. Also, sit back and take note of who is agreeing with it. Take note of who's like, well, I ain't never liked him. That's why that's what I said. I said the whole time. You know, somebody, I remember Antonio tried to say, Jason Johnson, Dr. Jason Johnson of the Root, and he said Jason Black by mistake. But understand, when Antonio got that wrong, he DM'd Black and said, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I have never gotten a DM from somebody telling me they were sorry for anything that they said about me. Not one thing. Understand that's the difference between how we over here operate from a place of integrity and the context and the intellect of the situation, as opposed to just like trying to shame people into like submission. Like, you know, I know I heard she ain't got but 7 toes, and that's degenerate. The hell is wrong with you? And I wish everybody the best, but they try to have and then, you know, that's not what it is. You have to have integrity. You have to have integrity. When Antonio got Blacks, he said, he was trying to say Jason and said he was genuinely sorry. I've been on YouTube all day. I got Jason Black, Jason Johnson. I messed it up or whatever the names was. He was genuinely sorry. nobody's ever been like genuinely sorry for like things they've said about us, like just to trash talk. And it's fine, it's okay, because one of the things you have to do is understand, you have to make assessment of people who matter versus people who don't matter. And you can't get your underwear into a bun. You can't get a bee in your bonnet for people who don't matter. But you just have to use that to understand and make an assessment for yourself. You have to understand that. You have to understand when people say things that can't be proven, right? When people say things, like, we're not a monolith. Some of us got money. Yeah, you got all your money from us, and you got all your money from us through these begging campaigns, and then you say things about other people and poverty shame them. These are the same people who gave you $5 to make all these documentaries. How can you? This is a problem. Beware of people who will shame you. Beware of people who shame you into submission. These are agents of chaos. You just got to be aware. And you got to know that, like, who they are. Put them in a certain slot, in a certain box, and they try to create their own reality and just lash out. Understand how Stephen A. Smith was just wild. I tell you what, who do you think you is? And you questioning my blackness. Watch people like that who just go off and go wild, because they understand when they start getting emotional, you stop thinking. And I tell you, I'm going to tell you about yourself, and I'm going to tell you about herself. And watch these people. Getting emotional is a tool. Because they know once they get emotional, you're going to respond to kind, you're going to get emotional. And when you get emotional, and when we get emotional as humans, sometimes we don't think. Right? And understand another thing that these agents of chaos do. They make useful behavior seem strange. So like Stephen A. Smith is trying to make Kaepernick and Reed's behavior seems strange. I'm just trying to go to job and be decent every day. Y'all ain't trying to be decent. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. How are you trying to make a behavior that's dedicated and anchored in justice wild because it's not you stepping and fetch it? Watch people who do that. Understand people who are playing a shell game. What do you mean, Yvette, playing a shell game? Well, Stephen A. Smith went from talking about empowerment or talking about, well, what happened with the workout to talking about you questioning, you trying to define blackness. That's a shell game. Wasn't nobody doing that. What you doing? What kind of game you playing? We had the same thing. Last thing I'm going to say about it. Same thing you had it with Tariq Nasheed, right? He went from tangibles 2020, which was politics and getting tangibles in terms of an agenda in 2020, to now he's getting tangibles in terms of economics. Y'all don't even realize that he just switched everything up. He ain't talking politics no more. He said, I don't do politics, because his politics was anchored in ADOS. So now he's going from that back to do for selferism and Pan-Africanism. He switched the whole thing up, and the people who watch him act like they didn't even notice what happened. He done switched the whole game up. He done went from tangibles 2020 to, yeah, we're going to get some tangibles. We're going to get you in a room. See, Yvette and Tone ain't got no monies, so we're going to get you in a room with some people that's going to get it popping. That's not ever what we were about. So really what you're doing is a Hidden Colors conference. That's fine. I wish everybody the best. I don't wish nothing bad on the conference. That's not who I am. I wish everybody the best, but understand when somebody's playing a shell game. You have to understand that. It's important that you understand that. Not just for this. This is small work. Don't nobody care about that. But we had to get you away from us because you're reckless and sloppy. But don't nobody care about that. What I'm talking about is about, we're about to, like, as we go on and continue and stay disciplined, we're about to really encounter in a real way white supremacists. So you have to start being able to assess this in a certain way. You have to be able to sit back and say, wait a minute, is what you're saying today the same thing you said yesterday? If not, why not? If so, why so? You have to be able to do it, because people will switch it up and say, no, he's still saying tangibles. Yeah, he's still saying tangibles, but today tangibles mean something very different than it meant yesterday. How? Why? What happened to tangibles 2020 in terms of the election? What happened? What did you do? Now it's tangibles Pan-Africanism. How? Why? And if you don't be careful, I'm going to leave you with this. If you're not careful, we have to have disciplined rhetoric. And that's what we have. We have always welcomed allies over here. Immigrant allies, black immigrant allies, we always have. That's what we've done. And I'm proud of that. You have to be very careful, or without the politics of it, because we've done that to distinguish ourselves from other groups in terms of our justice claim. That's it. And in terms of masking our failure, right? If you're not careful, somebody else will get you in a position where you're just being xenophobic and wild. That's why you can't follow wild people. We have to have a disciplined movement. So, fam, that's what I want to say. I know y'all got a lot to come in here and say about Kaepernick and everything that happened. I'm going to go to break as usual for 3 or 4 minutes. We come back and we're going to have a conversation. Let you have a conversation and have your say. family, let's get to the calls. Please call us. Please call us. Please call us. Please, please, please. Please keep in mind that we always have a limited amount of time and a lot of callers. So please, family, if you call in tonight, please have your thought, your comment, or your question ready so that I can get as much of the family in as I can. And those of you who are there right now watching, please hit that like button for me. Cost you no money. Just hit that like for me. Hit that bell if you have not hit it. I'd appreciate that as well. So I am going to go to the first caller of the evening. I am going to go to 504. 504, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
What's up?
You can hear me?
I can hear you, fam. What's going on?
This is Devin. This is Devin. I'm calling from New Orleans.
What's going on, New Orleans?
Devin.
What's going on, Devin? I was just saying where you from, New Orleans.
All right. I just wanted to tell y'all I really appreciate what you guys are doing, man. It's you changed my whole life.
Oh, thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I know it's not the topic what you guys are talking about, but the episode that Tone did with the racial wealth gap.
Okay.
I mean, that really changed. That really made me look into things that I never knew about.
Yeah.
So I just want to say y'all keep the good work up, and we love y'all.
Love you back.
And when y'all gonna come down to New Orleans eat some crawfish?
Wait a minute. I went for an interview. I don't know if it, because I never know if stuff's gonna air, so I don't publicize it. But I was in New Orleans like a week and a half ago, like 2 weeks ago. But I was only there for not even 24 hours. I was only there to like film something and run right back out. So I didn't have a time to set up a meetup or nothing. I was only there for like 18 hours max. So I didn't have time to set up nothing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't want to hold you up, but I really thank you guys for just giving us all this data that we needed.
Appreciate it, man.
It's so important, and I've been like telling people about it, and hopefully I could come to you guys' conference in 2020 in Louisville, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you know like whether do they have any ADOS like organizations in New Orleans? Because I don't know where they are.
Well, I don't
for these people.
Well, I don't know, fam. But if you're watching, post in the chat, and if you have a Twitter or something, post that in the chat as well. And if it is, somebody in the chat gonna tell you.
Okay.
All right.
It was nice meeting you.
You too, fam. You have a very good evening, and I appreciate it, and I love you back. I appreciate it. None of this exists without everybody else who's on the phone, who does all this work and the chapter meets and everything. So that's what it is. So appreciate it, fam. I am going to keep going. So I am going right now to 704. 704. What is wrong with this thing? 704. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Lori from Charlotte, North Carolina. I cannot believe I got through.
What's up, Lori?
Hey, I just want to tell you, first of all, you and Tone there are no words for what you do. I thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. And I know I don't need to tell you that, but you are just, there are no words. Now, going to the Kaepernick situation, I saw somebody mention it in the chat, but I watched First Take on ESPN.
Okay.
And that's, Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. If you get a chance, you or Tone, I want to know your take on what Max Kellerman had to say. Because I thought he sounded more aligned with ADOS than Stephen A. And I know Stephen A. is not ADOS from what I've seen on Twitter and other places.
Okay. But let me just hold on 1 second. Let me just bring up what Kellerman said. Part of it. He says, "I am not concerned with an actual world where white billionaires where white billionaires don't want to see a Kunta Kinte shirt. I am going to talk about the world we ought to live in, where so what someone shows up with a Kunta Kinte shirt, blah blah blah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, he sounded like a black man or a black woman, right? He sounded like he was making the case that we should make. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I was moved by that, but I was also disappointed because they had Michael Eric Dyson on as well. And, you know, just to listen to Stephen A. and Michael Eric Dyson, you know, talk about how, you know, we needed to be grateful and we had to get in line and you know, we had to reality versus, you know, a dream world. And, you know, Max Kellerman, you know, he stood his ground and he said, you know, I'm going to use my white privilege to talk about it. You know, what else would you want me to do? And so I just wanted you and Tone's take on that, you know, to see if you agree. And
well, I think
but anyway,
I think it took a white man to say it, right? It took a white man to tell that truth. Ain't that something? It took a white man to tell what the truth was. And I think that shows, and I think he should have told that truth. I think that's what white people should do. Like, I forget, like, letting me always say it. But I think it's something that it took a white man and white privilege to say that. Although I think he should have said it, I think it says something about the people who on the panel who are black who didn't say it. I think it all speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because you can see the fear. I mean, Stephen A., if I'm correct, he just signed a new multi-million-dollar contract. So he's got, you know, in his mind, you know, he's got a lot on the line that he's not willing to sacrifice for, you know, for us, for Adolf, or anybody else. But anyway, I'm a go. But I just want you and Tone to know that you all are revolutionary. Keep doing what you're doing. You have affected me in so many ways. I'm so grateful for you. And hashtag Adolf all day long.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love, family. So thank you so much for calling in. But yeah, it took him to say it. Like, I don't even know, like, you know, and I appreciate him because that's what white people should be doing. But I think it says something that the people on the panel, like black people who were too timid to actually say what needed to be said. Like, it's kind of like, what are you there for if you can't say what needs to be said? What's the whole point? So I'm going to the next call. I'm going to 253. 253, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, sister, this is Steve from Washington State. I want to call to say I have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you.
This brings me back to Angela Davis and the Black Panther Party, where I come from, or how I grew up. And on the Kaepernick situation, this is how it is. It's the ugly truth to what's going on. Money talks volumes. You know what I'm saying? It's an unfortunate deal. Political thought and financial empowerment does go hand in hand. I support Kaepernick for being who he is, but I'm going to be honest with you, my sister. You ain't going to push white billionaires to what they want. They're going to get what they want. If you don't want, it's a compromise. You know what I'm saying? And I understand his not trusting, but what was his brothers that they're supposed to have his back, the other NFL players? That's what I would like to know. You know what I mean?
Besides Reed, you mean the other one?
Well, you know, money talks. But you know what, sis? I know what it's like to stand on principle and stand, and you turn around, everybody's gone, everybody's done turn colors. You know what I'm saying? So talk is cheap, but we live in a society where, you know, all that bling and money, it will ruin a race real quick. So I just want to say I'm glad I got through. I love you to death.
Thank you.
I hope you come to Washington State someday. I hope so. And keep up the good work.
I appreciate it.
ADOS.
All right, thank you, fam. I appreciate it. So the caller says, what was?
Take care, fam.
Take care, fam. The caller said, our fan said, what were the brothers at? What were the brothers at? What were the brothers at? Was somebody else supposed to be? But see, the thing is, it was such short notice too. Like you had just. But I'll let y'all. I'm not going. I want to hear from y'all. I'm not going to talk too much. I want to hear from y'all. So I'm gonna go to the next call. I'm going to 440. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, I'm glad I got through. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What's going on your mind, fam?
Well, let's say it like this. First of all, with the Kaepernick situation, I agree 100% with what he did. He's already been through shadiness and disappointment with the NFL, the way they operate. And Stephen A. Smith is mad at him because he caught it. Because he caught it and he called him out on it. He's not supposed to trust these guys because they, once before, played the brother. They blackballed him for standing on principle. So Stephen A. jumping out there, it reminds me of a biblical concept where Abraham was supposed to, he just freed the king of Sodom and Lot. And the king of Sodom wanted to bring him, wanted to give him something. And Abraham told him, I won't so much take a saddle strap from you that you say, you've made me Abram. The point in that is that we have to be careful who we receive from. And Kaepernick understands that. As adults, we have to be very careful of who we receive from. And that goes along with, Flex and his followers and the things that they do. Very careful who we receive from. And I'm glad that you called that the ADOS from that. We have to be mindful of that, and we have to be very careful of who we receive from. And I 100% still support my brother Kaepernick.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate that. Now, when you say receive, you mean like I mean information or just money or like the bounty? Like what like what's the import of that for you? You still there, fam?
Okay, I'm here. I hear you, sis. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just wondering, like you said, receive from. I just wanted you to drill down on like what does receive mean, like, It's
information. It's so-called camaraderie, money, anything. You have to be careful. You have to discern who you receive from. Okay. You have to absolutely discern who you receive from. Some people, you might have to just tell them flat out no. I'm not with that. Okay. And Kaepernick did the right thing by not receiving that so-called handout, that so-called gift from the NFL. You did the right thing by separating ADOS from, the Tyreek Nasheed situation. You got to be careful who you receive from, and that's information, that's money, whatever. Okay,
I get you, fam, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I just want you to drill down on it. I appreciate it, fam, but I think you have to be careful.
Yeah, you got it.
You appreciate it, fam.
I appreciate you, sis.
Thank you, sir. And let me just say this because some people aren't worth it. You know how it's like I said before, all money ain't the same. All association ain't the same. All attention ain't the same. All support ain't the same. So, even when somebody gives you money, like the story that he was telling there from the Bible, some money costs too much. Like people like, well, I can get 1,000 here. I get that money costs too much. You don't know how much that money's gonna cost you in terms of life, in terms of the mission that you're on. That money costs too much, and you have to make that assessment. So I appreciate the brother for calling in and calling a spade a spade. I'm going now to the next call. I'm going to 857. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening. My name's Victor. I'm calling from Somerville.
Hey, what's going on? What's on your mind, Storm?
I'm just going to keep this completely brief. For Stephen Smith's comments, it's ridiculous, and I'm just going to leave it there, and I think he's a house Negro. And for Kaepernick, I agree with Kaepernick. He's a strong, smart man. He knows that he doesn't trust the NFL because, again, what they did to him 3 years ago was inexcusable. The man just wants to make a living. He loves football. And let's let the man play. Stop with the games, NFL. Stop being scared of a black man. Let the man play, yeah?
I hear you, fam. Anything else?
You got a good show, huh?
Appreciate it, fam. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let the man play. You heard the man. Just let the man play. Shoot. But you know how these people do. They don't play them kind of games. Let you do what? Play where? Okay, I'm going now to 773. 773, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Greetings,
how you doing? Is that this Anthony from Chicago? I'm the one who, when I finally got in for the first time a couple months ago, I told you that for the 2 months before then, I called every Monday and Wednesday and got a busy signal every time. So I was worried that you might have canceled us out here in Chicago because some of my fellow Negroes out here have been calling in and that
I would never.
I don't think you might have been like, yeah, some of them Negroes from Chicago.
No, but y'all be in here deep.
No,
never. I would never cancel y'all, but y'all be in here deep.
What'd you say?
I said y'all be in here, but I would never cancel y'all, not ever.
Yeah, because you already know we got major love for you out here in the shop.
I appreciate it.
And something else that I also mentioned, which ties to tonight's conversation, was I mentioned possibly doing a petition for you and Tone to be involved in HR 40, and I've actually been working on the draft for that I'm going to get you within the next couple weeks. Okay. So I imagine that you are real busy, but if you happen to get a chance to check that out, I'll be honored to give me feedback you have on it. Now, as far as tonight's topic, I am so glad that you touched upon this topic because, I mean, I was heated when I was looking at first take that the sister was talking about earlier with Michael Eric Dice on there. It's like I told my uncle, Stephen A, no, he ain't nothing but a house Negro. And I even text one of my dear friends, like, man, Stephen A, no, he a house, you know what? Because what Stephen A did on there was very sinister. Now, first of all, when you look at Michael Eric Dyson, Jay-Z, and Stephen A. Smith, it's a trifecta of sucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, selling out Negroes. And I don't say that lightly, but let's look at what the situation really is. Because they all running the game. And I don't know what happened to Michael Eric Dyson, because I used to be a big fan of him back in the day. He seemed to really be about black people. I was a big fan with him when he went with Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. I was like, man, this ain't the Michael Eric. I even got a picture that me and him took back in the day. And I was like, man, this ain't the Michael Eric Dyson that I knew and that I met and talked with back in the day. So it just goes to show. Some people be on the right path. They do sell out along that way. But just to make it quick, I know we need to keep moving on these phone calls. Stephen A. did something very sinister because, as the sister was talking about, Max Kellerman was talking, like saying kind of stuff that we would say as far as, like, Colin Kaepernick did a wear the Kunta Kinte shirt, you should stand up to white power. And Stephen A. did something extraordinarily sinister. He told Max, because what it was is Max was speaking truth, and he was exposing Michael Eric Dyson and Stephen A. Smith in contrast and being house heroes just by speaking truth. And so what Stephen A. did was real sick and real sinister and real slick, is that he said, well, as a white man, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, as a white man, you don't have the right to talk about black people, because we should strive for more, and we should look for more, because we got to deal with the reality of being oppressed. So then he's like, well, as a white man, you don't have the right to say that black people should fight for more and expect more and demand more, which is super sinister. But even with that, the white boy checked him. So, man, I'm just so glad you touched upon this subject, because I was like, man, it's a whole lot of powerful lessons that we can get from it. So I hope Yvette touched upon it, because I know she's going to have a great, she's going to put it in school with this one, which you are doing. So,
Thank you,
have a picture I put you about Magic in Chicago. Keep doing what you do. I look forward to seeing you do the even great things you called to do. I hope to help you do the great things you called to do. Take care. Have a great night.
Thank you. You have a great night too, fam. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's some sinister stuff. Like you being a white man, you can't put your privilege aside and stand with black people. Who are you to put your privilege aside and say you're gonna stand with black people? You don't get to tell us that you're gonna help us and say the right things. Anybody looking? Yeah, it's also ridiculous. It's also ridiculous. Like the stuff that we let pass by us, and we don't even call it out, and we don't even call on it, and we don't even say what it is, and we don't even say what it ain't, and we just kind of listen. If there's one thing that we should teach ourselves and teach each other at this moment, you don't have to reach a conclusion immediately. You can go home and think. You don't have to say, yeah, that sounds right, I agree with it. No, you can go home and say, listen, let me think about it. And anybody who says, what you got to think about, I don't think about, that person is manipulating you. Anybody who doesn't take your first answer is manipulating you. If you say, I want to go home and think about it, I would never tell you what you got to think about. Okay, go think about it. Go think about it, but come back and tell me something that ain't stupid. You have a right to think. You have a right to your own time. You have a right to your own mind. Don't do this groupthink stuff. So I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 920. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yo, what's up? This is Alonzo from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. First time caller.
Wisconsin. All right, fam. How you doing?
I'm great. I just wanted to let you know that I've been a big fan in the shadows, waiting to just emerge. This thing with this brother Tariq Nasheed has caused me to come out of the shadows.
I've been kind of afraid to come out because I lack a lot of what you guys have. That's that intellectual property. That's that desire to study and read. Like, I'm kind of lazy with it. But I've been educated by, I'll say, a mediocre public school education in Milwaukee. I currently live in Sheboygan, but I also got indoctrinated by Jehovah's Witnesses. So my mind is, I don't know really how to explain it, but I'm scattered. But when I met you in Tone, when I finally listened, at first I didn't like what you were saying. You were hollering, and that kind of turned me off. Then I listened, and I learned to love you, and now I really love your message and your passion and your strength. And even at night, as you talk about this Kaepernick thing and the thing with the provocateurs, you just win me over, and I just wanted to call in and ask, what can I do? Being that I'm limited, I don't have the same education or background, and I am working with a felony. I'm kind of scared here in Wisconsin because they don't really treat the felons properly, especially if you emerge as like an activist. I wanted to ask, like, what can I do to kind of like, really represent and get the message out there? Right now, it's been like bringing it to my
Well, thank you, fam. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that more than you know. Coming from you, I appreciate that more than you know. But let me just say this: you don't have to be an activist. See, and you don't have to like to influence people. You don't have to be an activist to do that, right? And I understand where you're coming from. You don't have to be an activist to do that. And one of the things I want to say is one of the best ways to influence people isn't even just to argue with them. We do a lot of arguing back and forth with people, and that's fine. I do that too. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Debate is good. But what I want to say too is one of the best ways to influence people is to ask them the right questions. Well, what does that, the person said that, but I'm just trying to figure out, does that have anything to do with it? Does that help close the racial wealth gap? Well, the person said X, but like, was that relevant to the conversation? Well, I understand what they said, but the person said X, and does that help black people? Like, I think one of the best things you can do and people can do who are in a certain situation is just to learn to ask other people questions, and questions that they will ask themselves later after you're gone. And that's how you influence people. They don't even know that the answer that they're giving themselves was planted by a seed that you planted in them. So what I would say in terms of people who like, I have this, I can't really be out there like that because they're going to try to get me again. Learn to ask questions that lead people to reach the conclusions that you want them to reach anyway, that they need to reach anyway, that are best for their community anyway. Just, and sometimes I'll just like write down, like, what are the questions that will help people understand that this is true? And that, because if somebody asks you a question, you feel like it's your idea. Like, if you come with the answer that I know you're going to come with, if I ask you, well, what about 2 + 2? I know you're going to come with 4. So you have to just begin understanding how to ask the right questions of your friends, of your family, of the people around you, of all those people. And eventually you'll see them start to, like, something start to flicker. Like, okay, I kind of see what, but they'll think it's their idea. They won't blame you. They won't be mad at you. So for me, in terms of advising you, learn how to ask good questions. That'll be beneficial because you're only as good as the questions that you ask. I said that myself. I'm only as good or as smart as the questions I ask myself. So I will ask myself a question like that question didn't get a good answer from my brain, so I need to ask myself a different question. And so get accustomed to doing that in terms of how you move throughout life. And I think you'll be able to influence people in a way that you wouldn't imagine right now.
Thank you so much. Once again, I want you to know that you guys are affecting the world. I live in a small city, in Wisconsin, Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Population very white. And I've been really speaking to, the people that I can come across about this message. And, I just want to know that you're activating, something in me that I've always, since I've been a child, been concerned about. And I thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I'll continue to listen. And I'll continue to support you in Tone. You guys have actually been a godsend. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate that. I appreciate that call. I don't think you know how much I appreciate that call, but I appreciate that call so much. I appreciate it, fam. And like, yeah, fam, we gotta learn to ask the right questions because you don't want to be confrontational, right? If you know somebody already feels a certain way and they're already not on board with what you gotta say, what you have to do is say, I'm just gonna start asking questions, and questions are seeds. Don't let anybody fool you. Questions are seeds. You're planting seeds every time you ask a question. So ask questions that you kind of know the answer to, but just leave them with them. Let them plant. Let them ferment. Let them do what they do. Seeds gonna grow how they grow. Right? If there's something there for the seed to drop into, it's gonna be there, even if it's just a little something. So learn how to ask the right questions. That way you don't really have to be, if somebody you know is gonna be confrontational or they're not on your same page, just keep asking the questions. Just keep tilling that field, and eventually it gets there. Now it's not glorious, it's not wonderful, but you get there. So I'm going to my next caller. Hold on one second. Let me see who I got here. The call line is always full. Always full. I tell you. I am going to 817. 817, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is AL from Texas.
Hey, what's going on?
And I just want to... Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Wonderful.
I'm good. I wanted to just piggyback off of the Kaepernick situation.
Okay.
I think now he should do more activism, because actually he made more of a presentation with the activism than he did with football. So I think he should just stop football altogether and just do the activism.
You think he should just let it go and just make himself into an activist, right? Well, what if he says, like, I deserve to be here, like they knocked me out of here because I was doing activism, and I want to do this. I love football and I can still play.
Well, I don't think that they didn't do him right to begin with, so he shouldn't even want to go back. He shouldn't even want to go back. That's one thing. He should never want to just go back and get treated badly, again.
Okay. All right.
So I think he should just stick to the activism.
Hang up his cleats.
And I wanted to say something else about the Tariq Nasheed situation.
Okay, go ahead.
Most of his listeners only listen to him just for his past endeavors. So I really don't think that most of his followers really just know that he's really flip-flopping like he is, because they really just know him for his relationship advice.
Yeah, you could be right, fam. You could be right. But I appreciate you calling in.
He's not really a problem for ADOS anyway.
No, I don't think that. I never thought that. I just think that one of the things that has to happen when you see people behaving, in a way that is problematic in terms of politics, you have to check them. And if they're not able to be checked, or their ego is too big that they don't want to be checked, understand, fam. What everybody has to understand is that no one person is bigger than the group or what we're fighting for. So we're fighting for an agenda, and we're fighting for reparations. With Black agenda reparations, no one person is bigger than that. So when you try to make yourself bigger than that in terms of what you're doing, that becomes a problem. You just want to fight. That lets me know that you're lazy and undisciplined and sloppy. So what you have to do at that point is say, well, you can't be in this space because you're putting yourself ahead of our collective uplift. So that is always a problem. But I agree with you, fam. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you, Tom, for all you do.
Thank you, fam. No, thank you. I appreciate you. You have a good one. Like they say, good evening. So I'm going to my next call. I am going to 619. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 619? 619.
Hello, Yvette. How you doing? Hello?
I'm here. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Hi, Yvette. This is Don from San Diego.
Okay, how you doing, Don?
I just wanted to have a 3-part question, and I'll take your answer off the line.
Okay.
First, it seemed to me, and it's just my perspective, that Colin Kaepernick was basically going on an interview to potentially get back into the NFL.
Okay.
I disagree with going on an interview with a Kunta Kinte shirt on. That's the first part.
Okay.
Second part is, can you give your opinion on the Democratic vote and what it's doing to the state of California? And the third part is, as far as ADOS, the group ADOS is both lineage and is it political? Because I'm finding it hard myself to see the separation between the two, being that I am in California and I see that the Democratic vote is not working in California. And I'll take your answer off the line.
Okay, thank you, fam. I will answer you off the line. I appreciate your call. Let me just say this. In terms of the Kunta Kinte shirt, I don't know when he put the shirt on. See, and first of all, I don't even see how the Kunta Kinte shirt, we say like I wouldn't wear it if I was going on an interview. This isn't first of all, this isn't an interview like you're going to an office job and you showed up with a t-shirt and a Kunta Kinte t-shirt. But if you were going to a job that was like at somewhere where you didn't have to dress up or whatever, like I really don't see the problem with, or it shouldn't be a problem. Like it's a problem, but it shouldn't be a problem of showing up with the shirt of a chattel slave. Like why is that a problem? I don't even see. But let's go further. We don't know when he changed into that shirt. See, when he got to the field at the high school, he already knew that the NFL wasn't gonna bother with him. He's not gonna do it at the Atlanta Stadium or whatever no more. He knows that this is a sham. So when you know it's a sham and you know that they're treating you like a slave, chances are he changed into that shirt because he knew what it was gonna be. Once you know the gig is up, you're free to do whatever you're gonna do. Now, I think we can have that conversation if Kaepernick, even though I don't think it's right that a slave shirt is a Kunta Kinte shirt should be offensive, because that's a liberation shirt. That is a freedom shirt. But even forget all that. Let's go where we are right now. If he had showed up in the Atlanta Falcons Stadium to do a workout and he wore that shirt, then I could see where you were coming from. Like this is the workout, and he agreed to the workout with the 25 people. But I think by the time he got to the high school, he knew the gig is up. I'm going to put this shirt on to show you who I am and what I stand for. I think that's very different if it had been there. And the second question, Dems in California. I don't know what, California's a different kind of animal. I can't speak to regionality, but I understand that y'all have some problems. And, you know, in terms of what Democrats are doing in California and how you fix it. You know, ADOS LA, SoCal, they've been doing some very interesting things, having some very interesting meetings, but I do get it. Like you're caught in between like a rock and a really hard space in terms of how the Democrats respond, and you can't do nothing with Republicans. So what do? You know, and that's why I said, you know, Democratic down ballot, which means that you don't vote for the top of the typical Democrat, but if you go all the way down, they don't have anything for you either. Then you just kind of write in ADOS, and it's just like everybody loses out because you're not meeting my needs. But I think before that, I would tell the caller to like get with some of the ADOS groups who are already out there, right? And figure out how to pressure politicians. You had Friday Jones and Antonio and all of them meeting with Congresswoman Bass and moving in that direction. You have to move and pressure people to have policy that pushes your direction. And there's no way, like all of this silliness going around and this parroting, are y'all a group or are y'all a lineage? Are you a dodo bird or are you a dodo bird? Like nobody, we've always been American descendants of slavery. We're anchored in our lineage, and that lineage has a cost, right? Associated with slavery and accrued disadvantage, which means we have a specific justice claim that we address through politics. If you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you do with yourself, with your life. I don't know. On your own. But yeah, both of these things are combined. If you're just a lineage and you're not going to do anything about what happened to you and how you were bottom casted, then you're really just a lazy kind of failure who just doesn't want to do anything. And like, just call yourself that. Just say you want to have a meet and greet somewhere and you don't want to have a conference or convention. You just want to meet and talk and swirl wine or something. I don't know. But enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. But that ain't us. I'm going now to 917. 917, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, what's going on?
Not much. What's going on, fam?
I'm cool, I'm smooth. This is Black Detta from New York City, Brooklyn, in the house.
What's on your mind?
Man, I'm just chilling, man. I just got a couple of points about the Kaepernick thing, but before I even get into that, I want to make sure that as a real man, I get on this line and make sure that I apologize to you. I know Tony, he ain't get on the line yet. I don't know if he's going to get on the line, but I know he's listening. I want to apologize to him as well. I was one of those people that during the fiasco with he who will not be named, I was like, come on, we could do this. Let's get back together. Let's have the kumbaya. Just apologize. And I didn't understand what I was up against until I had to personally interact with him and some of his sycophants. And then you understand exactly what you touched on tonight, that agents of chaos are not there to be worked with. Their purpose is to sow seeds of dissent and confusion to stall and inevitably try to stop the movement. And so I want to make sure I apologize for even trying to encourage you guys to work with him after his true colors have been shown.
No problem. No problem, fam. I understand.
Okay, good. Okay, I just want to make sure we still cool.
We cool. Right. We all right.
Okay, good. All right, so now moving on to Soft Shoe A. Smith. This dude, I mean, I watched the show. I watched First Take. I mean, I saw the back and forth between him and Reed online when he was using it pretty much as a teaser trailer to what he was going to say on First Take. And I really thought he was going to get on there and at least try to walk some of it back or become a black man again. But all he did was just double down on the stupid when he got up there. Yeah. And he invited, you know, they had Eric Dyson on there and how far the mighty had fallen, even though I don't know how mighty he was in the beginning. But he clearly had a book to sell, and it's about Jay-Z, so he knew there was so much he could say about the NFL, being that Jay-Z is now tied to it, you know? So he couldn't come as strong as he could, and I just wanted to say Max, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, Max is a white liberal, or he's trying to be a white savior, and he's who Malcolm X tried to warn us about. But in actuality, for me, personally, and I'd be interested to see what you thought about that, I really thought that Max sounded like what a white ally to the ADOS movement should sound like.
Yeah, because he used his privilege. You're supposed to use your privilege. That's the point. You are white. You have a privilege. You're not a bottom caste. You're supposed to use it. You don't. How do you have a white person who uses their privilege and you be mad? No, he sounded like what you're supposed to say. That's what he was supposed to do. He did what he was supposed to. Kudos to him.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And I think Soft Shoe A. Smith, like he's had his wake up call a long time ago, because how strongly he comes out against black athletes that do this and that. When he was speaking about that Ray Rice situation, this was a while back, and he spoke about the domestic violence, but also said, hey, listen, you know, women do have a role to play if there's an argument and they escalate the situation to the physical, knowing that that's not what they want. You know, they have a role to play in it as well. Now, that's, you know, whether you agree with that or not, you know, he was making a salient point. And Michelle Beadle, I'll never forget this, she was one of his fellow colleagues on ESPN at the time. She came out, I think they still work together, but she came out and just lambasted him, saying that under no circumstance does a woman have any responsibility to that, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line was she came out so forcefully that the same man that's always like, I said what I said, and I don't got to apologize, came out, issued an apology.
Yeah, I remember.
For her.
Yep.
And then he was suspended on top of that.
Yep. And he was okay with it. He was okay with it. He was okay with it. He didn't have no problem. He wasn't going to let his money go away.
Right. So he was able to step back and apologize for that. But whenever it comes to us, it's always that I mean, to be honest, that same energy we get from the black blue checks on Twitter
it's always that lecturing and respectability politics and I know better than you, and you got to follow my lead if you want to get to where I'm at, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
And so he did that to us. And the last thing I want to say, I don't want to hold you. A couple things. I know people in the chat was talking about one of the callers on there was he was talking real fast. I just want to say he wasn't talking fast. Y'all was listening slow. And another thing is for all the people. I mean, it's beyond me. Like I said, I definitely apologize, but it's so frustrating when you're talking to some of these people. And I ran into one today. I was on Twitter alongside Mecca, and I mean, to hear some of these people that talk about tangible 2020 and all this other stuff, and it's like, okay, well, how are we gonna get tangibles? It's like to have no political education and not want one, and blame it on the same thing the caller said. Well, how can ADOS be a lineage and ADOS be a political movement? And it's like, listen, you got Coke and Coke. One's a drug, one's a drink. You got a democratic process and a democratic party. We don't get those two things mixed up. I mean, we got to start. When they start throwing these straw man arguments out there, again, it's that agent of confusion. The last thing I want to say in closing is, I know a lot of people that follow both of you guys. He who shall not be named, right now he's suffering from a foot infection. May he have a speedy recovery, but I will say that it's easy to get a foot infection when you had your foot in your mouth for a week.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
No doubt, no doubt. Much love.
Much love, fam. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think these, I don't know what's going on with everybody. I don't know, like, these people, how can you be a lineage? And no, we are a lineage. We talk about lineage. Lineage matters. I created the Lineage Matters hashtag. Where you been, Dodo Bird? But like, how do you get justice for that lineage? That's the question. And we put up a whole black agenda. So this is nothing new. Like, this is a very low frequency group, and they can get high frequency. They can come over here and get high frequency, but you just can't do what they're doing and expect to have like justice. And justice is systemic. It's not a matter of individual agency. Boyce's version of individual agency is buy my cars, buy my flashcards. And then on the other hand, but the person who shall not be named, like he said, is buy my DVDs. And I think, we have to kind of grow out of that. Even when I talk about the shell game, that was even a shell game in the sense of when he tried to say, there were a lot of shell games, but when he tried to say, why don't y'all ask that of Asian and Indian entrepreneurs? Y'all ask me what you gonna do with the money. Why y'all don't ask them? Well, we're not demanding accountability of an Asian or Indian entrepreneur. You have told us you're a part of the community. You're down with the people. You said you're doing a conference and it's going to cost this and cost that. We're asking accountability from you because of who you are. We don't expect the same thing from you as we expect from them. Right? So even that was kind of all these shells is moving around. And so it's a problem. It's a problem, fam. And I think we have to kind of catch on to it because it's not for collective uplift. I'm looking for collective uplift, not Yvette uplift, not Antonio uplift, collective uplift. So I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 305. 305, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good night. This is Will from Miami. How you
doing
Will? Tonight?
Pretty good. How about you?
All right. I'm well. Thanks for asking. I just want to first commend everyone involved, yourself, Barry, and everyone else a part of the movement, the callers. First and foremost, we all know Stephen A. Smith, as the brother just said. Stephen was checked when he made that comment towards his co-worker. And moving forward, you know how the game goes. They're going to allow him to say everything but some things, and he knows that. So he's just only saying things that they feel like they ain't going to check him about. Maybe because he's black. Maybe that could be the reason. But I do want to say that with respect to ADOS, it's important that agents of chaos, we let that be clear, make it be known. We know who these folks are, but we have to continuously do the work, drop a educational message here and there, and keep it moving. I would like to say that when it comes to a situation with he who should not be mentioned, I like how y'all sort of like phrase that. We have to remember that ADOS, the folks involved, Tone, Yvette, Cornell, Darity, you all have done years of research, interviews, building data, building reports, written articles, and understand that ADOS is supported by all that you brought forth, that data. There's no particular message. Anytime that there's an interview or someone's pushing an agenda, people always come with data and numbers and facts. ADOS and those who brought forth that data can't be hired by he who should not be mentioned. Because what they're doing over there, we understand he's referring to a group of people when he says FDA, but what they're doing over there, they have not established any data. It's not associated with politics. They have no boots on the ground. When people have asked questions to those who are running for office, those questions weren't generated from folks referring to themselves as, well, I'll say it the other way. Those questions that were generated were people referring to themselves as ADOS. And so when we come forward to this point in time where we're getting this acknowledgement or this recognition, and then you have agents of chaos, he who shall not be mentioned, slips in, with his band supporting him, and then they try to hijack all of the work that everyone has put in, all of this energy, all of the political efforts. That is the epitome of somebody who wants credit for something they have not done, and hence all of the series of documents. So he may can hire experts to speak about Black history, or Pan-Africanism, or what melanoid people have brought and have done throughout history. But today, not in this age, he can't hijack Tone, he can't hijack Darity, he can't hijack Yvette Cornell, he can't hijack anyone a part of the Angela project. He can't do it. The politics of ADOS, keep it pushing, keep it moving, understand that, and thanks for the time.
No, thank you, fam. I appreciate that call. You can't hijack nothing with our soldiers, fam. You can't hijack nothing. I'm going to my last call. I'm going to 818. 818, what's going on? Hold on.
What up? This Tone Talks.
What's up, Tone?
I'm gonna come over to the Stephen A. Smith thing in a second, but before I did that, yesterday, for a quick second, I tuned into Tariq Nasheed's show, and I apologize, Yvette, for the offensive things that man said about you. I think it's inappropriate. I think he says a lot of racist, homophobic, and borderline crackpot stuff. It's very interesting that everybody kind of asks us to be highbrow, but what you actually are seeing is he can bring up a $2 million house, but I can't tell you he's uneducated. I'm going to say it again. He can bring up a $2 million house. I don't really care about that, but, man's not educated. And so what we're running into is because he's not educated, he don't connect ideas real well. And so, I don't know what to do for y'all, but I'm kind of done with him because he doesn't really think well for me. But I do know that what he said about Yvette was both homophobic, racist, and sexist. And I found it offensive, and I just wanted to say that first. And I want to move on past him. I wish him the best with his conference, but I wish he would just stop being offensive. Now let's move to the next thing. Stephen A. Smith and his whole thing. What we kind of see right now is these leagues, the NBA, the NFL, they built little black boys into conformists. And when I say that the whole industry is built to kind of create $1 million conformist little robots. So when you hear them talk, they've been programmed over decades to not speak about black people, but to represent a progress that Black America never really achieved. It's very similar to what Byron spoke to on the interview with Roland. And I don't really much like Roland, from what I know about him and how he speaks. But Byron did a wonderful job on that interview, and Roland gave him the space to do that, and I appreciate that. But what Byron spoke to is when white capital gives you money to give it back, or gives you power or platform only in the context of giving it back. Yeah. And I think we see that with the NBA and the NFL, because these men, they largely are just mute. So everybody says they have this platform, but as long as they don't talk about what Kaepernick was talking about, as long as they don't talk about what Eric Lee is talking about. Now, in addition, what I kind of see also is like when I looked at the parts I saw from what Matt Kellerman said, he gutted Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith survives on the political work done by Adolf. I know people go on Shirley Chisholm and Kwame Ture, and I respect those people. Those are people from different countries. I understand that he's not from their country. He's not an Adolf person. He now sits in a position built off the long legacy of black journalism, Adolf's black journalism, and has an obligation he doesn't want to meet. One of the things that I see far too often is a conservative strain amongst black immigrants that isn't as prevalent amongst ADOS black folk. And so now when we look at it, he's supposed to stand up and speak for a greater black America, and he don't want to do that. But he wants to come in and say, my brother, my brother, my brother. He's supposed to be there when Byron brought this case and you start seeing all this stuff about channels and ownership, all the black media is supposed to stand up and say, he right. I'm with that. Civil Rights Act of 18. He didn't say nothing. He was dead silent. But he want to collect the $10 million. Well, I don't know how that works, that the man who's sitting on the backs of Adolf's work for generations gets to collect $10 million based almost purely on being black. Because that's the whole end on his business. I'm a brother. But when we cut it open and we start making it about Adolf, you find out he's not Adolf stuff. And that's what matters. What you think, man?
I agree. I agree. Like, I agree. He's kind of, we have all these people, though. I think we have a lot of people in the media and elsewhere who all talk all that stuff about being a brother. I'm down, and I understand what the brothers go through and all that stuff. But when it comes time to, like, really stand up and really be a brother or a sister in a way that matters, it doesn't happen.
And I think it goes even further with this guy because you actually see a conservative strain with him. It'd be interesting to see what his voting patterns have been and his politics because he's highly conservative. And I think it's really hard for us to navigate this lineage and this reality of politics. It's very, even like in the sense of the stupidity, the political ignorance of talking about us being democratically bought. Getting beyond the fact that I went in on Tom Perez, went in on Kamala, what we did to the whole reality of not me and Yvette, Adolf. What we did to the whole reality of this political dialogue. What I think is interesting about the whole thing is, black people should be Democrats. Democrats, first of all, are the left wing. If you know anything about politics, the stuff in the left is what black people need anyway. If you know anything about politics, we voted for them 90% since 76, I think, or 80. If you know anything about politics, that's not something that you're saying that actually makes any kind of like accusation. To call a black person as a Democrat is basically call a black person in America. And maybe you see it differently, maybe your numbers are different. See, I think we're dealing with a strain of conspiracies. There's a significant strain of conspiracies, and the reason why I know that is my videos are 99% liked. So what do I mean? I can't put a video up, get 50,000 views, 3,000 likes, and 200 dislikes, and you tell me that his people matter to me. They don't. He can keep them. I don't want conspiracies. I want the core of black folks, Adolf people that will stand in the snow for the Civil Rights Act of 1866. I want the core of black people, Adolf people that will come across the country for a conference. I want the core of black people, Adolf people that will make phone calls to their local Congress members, not people who say, I don't want to do nothing with politics. Keep those people. They can't help me. I just kind of wanted to call in because I really wanted to say the first part first because I find it very, very disheartening to be so brash and say things that I heard the other day. It has no place in a black dialogue. I think we should keep it above board, but everybody can't do that. But at the same time, also, I think the Stephen A. Smith thing there's a lot to it that everybody doesn't want to talk about, and everybody wants to dance around. And I'm not in no way trying to say that in a xenophobic way. I'm saying that politically, if you start carving this thing open, Adolf's people have largely voted liberal. And then you'd be interested to see what the voting patterns, if you broke out black immigrants, are Because what you see from Stephen A. Smith is a strain of conservative thought that I don't think is as normal amongst us. That's just me. I'll leave it at that. All right, man.
Appreciate it, Tom. Appreciate it. And I think Antonio is going to be our last show for, our last call, Lord. Last call for the evening. Let me just say something, though. Somebody was like, oh, you keep voting for Democrats, you keep getting, nobody's telling you can, I said vote down ballot, you can vote ADOS all the way down and you won't vote for any of them, but you will let everybody know that you showed up. And I think you have to show up for dog catcher. I've already said that. I've already said that showing up, there are referendums on the ballot initiatives that are not a person. You still need to show up for that. I've said that. But let me say this. If you understand conservatism, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what to understand. Conservatism is the conservatism of power. So conservatism is the act of having had power and losing it and realizing that you've lost the power that you have and you're acting to grab it back, and that is conservatism. We are not conservative generally because we've never had power. Because understand, Democrats usually throw more money at stuff. We're a group that needs and are owed monies. So we generally are liberal because of what we... Now the problem that we have is that we have not taken the Democratic Party away from Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and all the people who use us as doorsteps and doormats to get their initiatives filled. We don't use Democratic Party as our party. We don't say this is mine. I need my stuff. I need my black agenda. I need my everything. We don't do that. That's what we have to do. We have never had power to conserve. We have never been at the top of the hierarchy to conserve our privilege. That's why fewer of us are conservatives. I'm not slamming no black conservatives. I'm just telling you what it is. Read books on conservatism and liberalism and you see what it is. What I'm saying is that you can go and vote down ballot, and you can, if ain't nothing on there, you can vote ADOS all the way down. But what I'm telling you, and then you're not giving any of the Democrats because you showed up and said none of them worth my vote. But there's other stuff on the ballot. But the second thing is this. I keep saying this. It's not that there's something necessarily wrong with like a D as opposed to an R. The problem is every year what we let Democrats do is go give everything to somebody else. Well, we can't give you nothing. I'm sorry. Because Mitt Romney gonna get in there. So we got to give everything to this group. We got to try to get the white blue collars back. We got to try to get the Latinos back. We got to try to get them back. All the time, we the ones who are patchworking your party together. Listen, if we vote down ballot all the way through this thing, y'all ain't gonna win, Democrats. You are through. You are finished. And y'all gave us Trump in the first place, so you deserve it. We don't have to rescue you at all. You better get your stuff together. You better decide what you're going to do. You better give us an ADOS agenda that we can work with, or you're screwed. You have more than enough time to get it together, though. You have more than enough time to contact me, Antonio, or whatever. We'll come there, work, and write something out. You got time. But ain't nobody playing these games no more. But we just show up. Well, we got to do it. We don't want 4 more years of Trump. White people gave us Trump. Let them fix it. Fix your own mess. Clean up your own spilled milk. You make messes all the time and then turn to Negroes like we steal your maids and say, get this up. For what? I don't work for you. I don't work for you in this political arena. You fix your own stuff. Get your own stuff up. You made a mess. Fix it. So, fam, while I'm on, let me, so hit the, hit the like button. Please share. Please hit that bell for me. Hit that bell so that you get notifications. I would appreciate it. Please do all. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com. You go to patreon.com/Wycarnio. The link for the newsletter will be in the description. I got back to a couple people who said they weren't receiving the newsletter. If you emailed me and you were not receiving the newsletter, you didn't get back, hit me one more time, just so I can send you the old newsletters and try to figure out what's going on with the one that you haven't received. That would be great. Go to subscribe-to-brown.com, subscribe-to-brown.com, and add your name to my mailing list. If you have not done that already, I would appreciate it. And fam, listen, you know what it is. We just got to stay on our square. Ain't nothing. That's what it is. That's what we are. Stay on our square and we are good. Coming up pretty soon, we will have another book club, and, you know, we'll figure out what that is. We'll figure out what that is. But right now, just hit that like button for me before you leave. And I will see you next time, fam. Be easy breezy and finish your libation.